statement this morning, and, as I said, deciding where duty lies is very difficult, but I truly believe, and meeting with a lot of people on the ground, these are challenging times, and I need people of the 5th District decide and God decide, because I need to deliver for them. And unfortunately, what's happening in D.C. right now, I'm not sure if it's going to happen this Congress. I work very hard. We're still moving some issues, but I haven't seen my Republicans be able to hold the ground. We probably need to have new people in Washington, D.C., especially a new president.
That's the statement from Congresswoman Victoria Spartz just yesterday on the morning show. But she is now back in the race for the 5th District. She has changed her mind and is running for re-election. Tony Katz, good to be with you. Meanwhile, there is a host of candidates who have declared in the 5th District on the Republican side. This is going to be a competitive piece. One of those people, Max Engling. Max, you can find him there on his website, maxforindiana.com. I'll get to your statement in a second, Max, as you have posted and put it out there. Statement from conservative Max Engling regarding Congresswoman Spartz. But in your own words, when you heard the news yesterday, what was your first thought?
Morning, Tony. Appreciate it. You having me on this morning. So I think I was maybe a little bit disappointed that she was getting in after saying that she wasn't going to get in. But honestly, for me, this is my home. These are the people that I care the most about. And I'm 100% committed to serving the people of the 5th District. I always have been. And, that's not going to change. And so that's why I remain focused at this point. And that doesn't change it, Tony.
Your statement reads, Congresswoman Spartz's well-documented history of waffling on the issues and re-election campaign leaves Indiana families without a principled voice in Congress. Decisive conservative leadership means standing your ground when it comes to reducing the debt, fighting for Indiana families, and getting America back on track. I'm in this race to win, and the Congresswoman's latest announcement makes me more committed than ever to stay in this race, trust the Lord, and fight for family-first policies. Now, you can argue that there's a waffling on getting into the race when she said that she was out. Are we arguing that she wasn't a conservative in Congress?
I think what I'm saying is we need to know what our representative stands for and that we can trust that she's going to do the thing he or she says at any point. And we saw whether it was going back and forth in the speaker fight, anytime that happened at the beginning of the Congress. We saw it even with Jim Jordan. And we've seen it on Ukraine funding and a number of things that I want to know. The person that's representing me, when they say something, that's what they're going to do.
Talking to Max Engling, candidate for Congress in the 5th District, maxforindiana.com. There's a fair amount of people running. You have got a history in politics. You can read it over at your website, including the role of member services for the Speaker of the House, Director of Member Services for then Speaker McCarthy. You have dealt with Congress on a pretty high level and in those back rooms and in those places where more of the deals get made. Is that the experience that is necessary for the 5th? And how does your experience now compare to that of the Congresswoman who's been there for what will be 6 years?
Yeah, so I've seen the good in Washington, I've seen the bad in Washington, and I've seen it up close and personal. And what that does for me is it really keeps me focused on what do we need to do to solve the real challenges in our country. We don't have time for this, waffling back and forth. We don't have time for distractions that are coming out of the 5th District. So, I need to say something to the people that are listening for a minute. I'm focused on reducing the debt. We're at $34 trillion now. Washington has to stop spending so much money. I'm focused on closing the border. I've been to the border 2 times in the last year, went to Texas and Arizona. And the Biden administration is allowing our country to be absolutely flooded with illegal immigration, with human trafficking, with fentanyl, cartel crime, things that never would have happened under President Trump. I'm focused on reducing the cost of living. We're 17% higher now than we were just 3 years ago. I feel it when I go to Aldi. Everything is more expensive. You've got to retap American energy, cut overspending in Washington, and reduce regulations. And I've seen how to actually do this job. I know how to actually do this job, not just talk about it, Tony. And you have to communicate. You have to listen with your constituents. You have to build coalitions. You have to know how to pass and block legislation. And what I get frustrated with is so many folks on the conservative side just want to talk about it and not actually do those things. And I'm positioned based on my experience, even though I've never been an elected politician, I know how to get this stuff done, and I really want to do that for the people of the 5th District.
Representative Victoria Spartz, when she was on the show yesterday, was having this conversation that Congress needs doers. It's too many people talking. They need doers, and that's why she needed to get back in this race, because she fears where the Republican Party is going, where the country is going, and it was clear that she was needed. So in your conversation with the people of the 5th District, because you got to win a primary before you get a chance to get to a general, to the people of the 5th District, how do you separate yourself out from Victoria Spartz, and maybe more to the point, as you were just discussing, the way to get these things done? Are you saying that Representative Spartz was an impediment to getting things done?
I'm saying that we haven't seen the fruition of that. And more importantly, as a constituent in the 5th District myself, I want to know that when my member of Congress says to me, this is what I'm focused on, I'm not going to be distracted. I'm not going to take up every shiny object. I'm going to say we have to hunker down and do the work, not get on TV, not yell about it. There's certainly a case for that at times, but you have to say my job is to bring this home, actually do the things we're talking about. And I just haven't seen that. You know, she was on your show yesterday, and I appreciate that. And one of the things I do agree with that she said was we need to have fresh people and fresh ideas in Washington. And I'm the only viable candidate who's not a career politician, but still has the experience in the public service to say, let's do this now.
Talking to Max Engling, candidate for Congress in the 5th District, Max for Indiana.com. Agreed, you're not a career elected official, but you have spent time in the halls of Congress just discussing how to make things work, pass legislation, block legislation, how to do those things. So you have experience in that place. You don't come in as the total outsider. But when you take a look at the 5th, what is the subject that is most addressed to you from the constituents in the 5th District? Full disclosure, my district, what is the thing you hear most?
The number one thing that I hear when we knock on doors. So I knocked 1,000 doors just in the municipal elections to be helpful to get our folks across the line. And what I heard the most is the cost of living. Everything is too expensive. You know, I mentioned earlier, I think we're at 17.1% higher than we were 3 years ago just for essential goods. And you listen to the Biden administration, and they don't understand why consumer confidence is low, but consumer spending is up. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because we're spending money on essential goods that we have to purchase, and it costs more, and we're not happy. And so, to me, that's the number one thing that I hear. And it's not an overly hard challenge to fix. You have to retap American energy. You have to stop spending so much money in Washington and reduce regulations so that real people have we're not just changing the rate of inflation. I don't want to just change the rate of inflation. I want to bring real costs down for real Americans that are feeling the pain.
Before I let you go, Max, there are a lot of people running in this race. Of course, probably the biggest name running against you is Chuck Goodrich, who has the money to self-fund. You've got a series of people who are engaged here. How are you? What is the plan to separate yourself from them? Never mind just Congresswoman Spartz, where people may already have an opinion.
So we don't need another wealthy career politician saying, let me go out to Washington to do I'm not exactly sure what. So my job is to be all around the district. The Constitution says that this job is a representative position. You cannot do that without being all around the district and listening to constituents and then acting on that. So I am everywhere at as many meetings as we can possibly be at. I answer questions when people are send those to me. I will not afraid of getting in front of the issues. So let's talk about the real things that are happening in real people's lives. And there's a huge number of people out there that hear that message and they say, we want that. We want someone that I share conservative values with, and somebody that is then able to go out and actually do those things. And so it's been very encouraging to me to see folks around the district that want that. And we're pushing hard, and we've got a bunch of volunteers chomping at the bit to get out there.
Does Victoria Spartz deciding to get back in the race make it easier for Democrats to run somebody against the Republican?
I think they may put somebody up because, they like to think that there may be blood in the water, but I don't think it's going to be any easier for them to win. I think if I'm given the privilege to get through this primary, we are going to run very hard in the general, and I don't see any way that a Democrat's going to come through in the 5th District.
Max Engling, candidate for Congress in the 5th District of Indiana, maxforindiana.com. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
As a new Western Union customer, you can enjoy a $0 transfer fee on your first international online money transfer. Send money to your family and friends back home the fast, easy, and reliable way. Visit westernunion.com or download our app today to get started, and your first transfer fee is on us. FX gains apply, not available for credit cards and transfers to Cuba. Services offered by Western Union Financial Services, Inc., and MLS 906983, or Western Union International Services, LLC, and MLS 906985. 985.